Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Bikini and the Brain. I am here with the lovely and warm and cozy, Christmassy Ashley Kaltwasser.
Yes.
I love it. I love
Trying
your
to get
whole...
in the spirit a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're not.
Well, I didn't get the memo. Next week.
Is it 12 days to Christmas yet? I think so.
Oh, I'll be post Christmas when I do. When I'm in Reading.
Right. Well, maybe next year.
Well, I'm gonna do it either way if I remember. All right. So today we have a really cool episode we've been talking about doing for a little while now, and actually, you know what? You've been in the subject of it I feel like you've been very studious about this one. So why don't you talk about what we're covering?
So there is a personality trait that a lot of successful people have. And I don't think it's as talked about as much as the other personality traits. And it is called grit. Do you have grit? And what is grit, right? Like, what is a gritty person? Is sandpaper involved? No, it's not. But what is involved is passion, perseverance, overcoming obstacles, and all that good stuff. So I thought we should dive right in to see if you are a gritty person, and if you're not, maybe we can kind of inspire you to be a gritty person.
Yeah, and I think we should go into, what is the definition of grit, right?
Right, totally.
In the context that we're using it.
Absolutely.
Which is really cool because I was actually listening to all her podcasts and everything like that. Now I'm forgetting her name. Who came up with this? Do you have it in your notes, studious, Ashley?
Angela Duckworth, I believe.
And that's right,
Is that
Angela Duckworth. And she's.
That could be wrong.
No, that's it.
Okay.
If you want to look into the subject a little bit more, she has some great stuff on YouTube about having grit and the positive effects of it long term. And what's really cool is we were kind of talking about it with Ashley just a second ago before the podcast started. Is that I was like, you're probably the grittiest person I know, and I know we're probably going farther into.
Well, no, I think we found the word to describe me, because you used to say, Ashley, you're the hardest worker I know, and I always used to come back that like, I don't think I'm the hardest worker, because I know there's girls out there currently doing way too much, like not that it's a good thing, but they're doing like hours of cardio, dieting way harder, lifting way longer, right? But they can only achieve that for a short period of time, and then they lose motivation. So not that that's what we're trying to do. Obviously, we would never want to do that much cardio. It's unnecessary. We're training smarter, not harder. But with that being said, I would argue that girl, for the time being, whether it be 12 weeks or 2 weeks, she's a harder worker than me. Yeah. But is it long-term? Is this something that she can maintain over a long period of time without giving up, with keeping the same willpower, the same drive? I say no. So I think a better word to describe me, when you say I'm the hardest worker, I'm the grittiest person that you know.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, and it's and that's the thing, is the whole point of grit in the context that she talks about it is it's not a sign of like your general intelligence so much. It's really a sign of you sticking to a project, sticking to something long term without interruption, and getting to that expert level because of the time you put in, and without the misdirection of other things taking you off path, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keeping focus. It's passion, perseverance over a long period of time, having stamina, sticking with your goal, and living life like a marathon instead of a sprint, which is, we see that a lot in this industry, right? Yeah. Kind of like what I was just describing, girls that are doing hours of cardio a day, eating minimal calories, because they're thinking of it as a sprint, right? Yeah. It's a marathon. Life's a marathon. And it's a great personality trait to have grit, just to keep going and not letting setbacks set you back.
Yeah, because they're going to happen for sure.
Everyone experiences setbacks, for sure.
Even you've had issues. You had your injury with your eye.
Yeah.
You've had injury with your knee at one point, right? It was
that was an
cardio.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be an issue, especially as an athlete, as a business person, as a trainer, whatever. You could just look at 2020 for that example.
Oh, yeah,
so
totally.
With 2020, I've had two like economic catastrophes in my stuff for, and I stuck around. 2008 when the market collapsed in California when I was there. And all the clients disappeared. I had, and then we had when I was training when 9/11 happened too, that was another one where people just stopped training like completely. It was like the whole world just like stopped training at the gym for like 2 weeks. I was like, dude, I have no clients. Like I have no sessions. I have no income. Like, so like things like that. And then 2020, obviously gyms were closed and a lot of people were not prepping for shows. There was no show. So like, yeah, there's always going to be something that happens and there's always going to be a reason to want to give up, want to go off path.
Right. And it could be physical or mental. It doesn't have to necessarily be an injury or it doesn't have to be a life event, but everyone is going to have to experience an obstacle at one point. And we can't really tell you what that is if, we don't know you, but guarantee you've already experienced a few in your life.
Yeah, I think it's the having grit, especially in this sport, like you really do need to think about it as long term. When you look at bodybuilders, there's a couple guys that are doing really well that are like younger dudes, like Hunter Labrada, Nick is doing really good. Like there's guys that are doing great that are younger, but for the most part, these bodybuilders that are doing well are like mid 30s, some of them in their like early 40s that are like really hitting their peak. And these are guys that started lifting, most of them like as a kid, like 15, 14 years old. I mean, some of them even younger than that. You're talking 20 years for them to hit that stage at the higher levels, And then we get bikini girls that are like their first show, like, they're like, I want to prep for 16 weeks and then I want to eat like shit and then I want to prep for 16 weeks and get back to that shape that I was in, which is not progressed from the prior show because I've just been slacking in my off season, but I want to be at the Olympia stage. And I'm like, good luck.
I mean,
good luck with that.
That scenario, and then also, especially with bikini too, we find like maybe a girl that you can see she has like a lot of potential there, right? She looks like, oh, we just need to fix this, or maybe a few more, months of training, or maybe even just getting in front of the right people and just getting noticed. But maybe they didn't place like they wanted to. They get discouraged. Starts the downward spiral and they never want to compete again. And that is an example of not having grit because that experience, like it just kind of put the bad taste in their mouth and they just quit. See, people quit whenever they don't achieve what they want right away. It's that instant satisfaction culture in a way, right? Yeah. If they don't get exactly what they want, they quit. They don't even want to try. They just throw it away. And I think society has kind of trained people to be that way in a sense, unfortunately. But, just even using the bikini example, everyone on that Olympia stage has lost before, okay? Everyone on that Olympia stage has gotten third place or worse, you know what I mean, at a local show. And I'm just using this in the bikini standpoint, but this applies to many, many things, right? So no one goes into their career just win, and no loss ever. And I feel like sometimes that loss can make or break someone. That loss can either hurt the girls with an ego that think they should have won, they only expect to win, they're not going to compete again unless they win. Those girls are going to go bye-bye. You won't see them too much. The other hand, there are people who take a loss as a learning lesson. And I think that's a great way to look at things. Like if you lost, figure out why you lost and what you can do next time to better yourself, and then maybe you'll win one day.
Yeah, and that's easier said than done.
Yes.
But it is, I've seen it all too often, Mm-hmm. And a good example of what you're talking about too is the top 4 this year. So the top 4 in the world, Ashley's one of them, have all beaten each other. None of them have not lost to each other at one point or another. There's no one there. Jennifer's the current champion. But Jennifer's lost to Ashley, Laura Lee, and Issa, right? And then Laura Lee's lost to Jennifer, Issa, and Ashley.
Top 5 though, but yeah.
Top
5.
What do you mean? Top 5. Oh,
yeah, top 5.
I'm sorry. That's right. Issa was 5th this year.
Top 5. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. We're all basically we're in rotation.
Issa's top forward my heart.
Oh no,
she's such a sweetheart.
Yeah,
I like her so much.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure.
No, you're right, because it was 5th, and then was it 6th last year?
I'm not sure,
yeah,
but
like
it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's not the point of it.
She was a champ at one point. That's not the point of it. But yeah, but it's just an example. The top girls in the world do, have all lost to each other at one point or another. So it's like, it's going to happen. You're going to lose. You're going to lose to someone that you should beat. You're going to lose to someone that you've beaten before. It's just part of the game, especially if you're doing, most of our listeners are bikini. It's going to happen. You're going to go to a show sometimes when you feel your absolute best and you might place your absolute worst. Like that's going to happen. And it's a tough blow, to prep that long and to mentally be able to take that when you're at your best, or even if you're good, and you lose to someone who you think is subpar to you. You know, it's a hard thing. And I've seen and had it happen many times where I have someone who's good, has a lot of potential, that happens, and then I like never hear from them again. Like reach out to them, they don't get back to you, like they just fall off the face of the earth. And then like you might see them a year later, hear from them a year later, they're like, yeah, that just knocked the wind out of me, and after that I just decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I just wanted to, you know.
Dang, people quit so easily. I just don't get it. Oh,
yeah, but it takes a long time. You know, the kind of the series that she did, when she does all these talks, she talks about, you know, anyone becoming a master of their craft, spending 10,000 hours on it, the rule of 10,000. And, you know, I do think that there is a lot to that. And what's funny is the better you get at something, like, you know, I've done this pretty much my whole life. I've been working in nutrition stores since I was 16. And the better you get at something, the more you think you don't know about it, which is really funny. And the worse you are at it, I find that the guys that think they know the most. Isn't that the funniest thing? Like I'll see like a rookie guy 1-2 years in, like telling me what to do. And I'm like, yeah, on paper, I get that, but try practical application of it. You know, try it on stage with people and see if it works, you know, because it doesn't, right? And so like, I'm like, what's next? How can I get better? I don't know enough. And then like when I first started, I was like, oh yeah, I know everything, read every book, right? And it's like so funny how that goes. And I think it's the same thing with Bikini, like you, who's, you know, I don't know how the 10,000 hour thing is defined in Bikini, because that's a weird thing to define at 10,000 hour. I think it just comes with experience, more experience. Mm-hmm. But with you, you know, you doing a lot of shows, you know, I would say you're the probably the most practiced, you know, just because of how many shows you do, you're probably the most practiced current person. And even now you're still like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to learn more. Yeah. I pushed too hard on my back pose. I can't leave. I got to do another show to correct that. I got to do.
I'm very much like that.
So, and then if you guys, one of her last shows, she might have pushed just a tiny bit too hard. Might have been the lighting, might have been a little lean. And then she was like, it bothers me so much because I know I could have controlled that. I need to do another show to fix that.
Yeah. If I see something that's off or I know I can easily fix, it bothers me at night if I don't like correct it. So sometimes I will do another show just to kind of correct it. So but now we got to wait till February, I guess. Yeah. I'm doing the first show of the year in 2022 here in my hometown, Las Vegas, February 5th. What's up?
Can we get some Las Vegans to that show and cheering for Ashley? Woo. I'll be there. The whole crew will be there. Can we get some Las Vegans to like light the roof off or blow the roof off when she gets on stage? That'd be fun. We should do that. We say hi to everyone. Let's make that a thing.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay. I need people to pretend to be my friends so it looks like I'm cool.
Yes.
Because if not, we just have Adam cheering and that's no fun.
Yeah. It's not so great. I'm pretty quiet guy.
Yeah.
So, but the cool thing that I've always, it's funny because I'll talk to other people about you too, like other bikini competitors and whatever. They'll be like, how does she do it? Or I was like, honestly, I don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense for her to be able to sustain this for that long of a period. And I'm like, she just has done it for so long that she just lives that way now. It's just, it's not about being in prep. It's just her mental, the way she thinks about things mentally is just, this is it. You know, Will Smith has some good stuff on this as well, just because of his attitude, his mentality on it. You know, he was like, you know, there is no plan B because it takes away focus from plan A. Mm-hmm. And I think that is you. You know, I don't think that there is, you know, for you just see that, you know, you just tunnel visioned on that, which is great. It's a good thing. And I think in this sport, you know, you kind of have to be that way, because here's the thing that I'll tell people that they don't understand about the off season. And if you guys hear this, like if you listen to these podcasts, I hammer in the off seasons all the time. I'm always hammering the off season. And the reason is this: for every day Ashley's perfect and you're not, that's one day farther away from her that you are. For every day someone like Ashley isn't perfect and you are, that's one day you captured on them to get closer to being able to beat them and to be on their level. Now, the thing is, when you have someone like Ashley, she's not letting you have any days to get ahead of her, and that's her mentality. She's like, no, I'm not giving you a day. I'm not giving you an hour if I can't, you know? She just is too competitive with herself to be able to do that. You know, it's just like, I have to be, and I think it's at the point now where it's not like this immense pressure on yourself. I don't know how that is internally for you.
depends on what the show is. The bigger shows, I get a lot of pressure. The Olympia, as you know, it feels, it's very overwhelming sometimes. But, you know, I think like I've just learned to enjoy it and embrace the pressure too, you know. I don't know. I'm just not motivated after shows, right? Like I'm very much like it motivates me every time I compete more and more. I want to like the second I step off stage, I'm like, oh, I got to do that again, you know? Yeah. Even if it doesn't go my way in that scenario, usually I'm like, oh, I got to fix this. I got to fix this. But you know, I just realize that I'm in a really lucky position to be able to do what I love to do. So I take advantage of this time and just make the most of it, whether it be training here at the Contest Prep Center or on stage. I enjoy it all because it's just like, how lucky am I to be able to do this? It's so cool. It is so cool. How did I get here? I still question myself, how the heck did I get here? But I'm lucky and I love my life and it's really fun for me and it's just, I'm having the time of my life.
It is pretty cool. It's lucky that you could do it. And it's funny is that when I was coming up as a trainer, and I've always said, I'm never gonna do this if it turns into work. Like I'll never do this if it turns into work. And there's been a couple times where it got close, so I pulled back, you know, and I was like, well, I'm gonna slow it down a little bit because I don't ever want it to turn into work and to turn it into something that I'm not like blessed to have where I'm just like, I have to do it type of thing. It's like, I want to do it. And that's always, and I think that that's what has kept me in this, like the length that I've done it, which is very, you know, very long time. But it's funny is that when I was younger though, I was like, I want to be the best in the world. I want to be the best coach in the world. And I'm going to keep working harder and harder and harder. And that's when it started turning into like work, you know, because I was taking like any loss, like, damn, that's a step away from me being the best, you know, and it was like always like so painful, you know, and you would just do anything you could to be the best. And that turned into not being like the best thing, you know, it was too much pressure to putting on myself. And it's just, you can never justify being the best. So I kind of took a step back from that. I don't really care about that anymore. I just want to be like my best that I can be and have fun and this now, you know, it's different. And one of the things that like I took away from that was, you know, to just, I think it does have to be a passion. But when I would see a younger trainer like trying to take me out, because there's a lot of like, there still is a lot of that stuff. Like we still have those competitions between each other where like, you know, where we're like kind of fighting, but we're not. We're like friends though now. It's more healthy than it used to be when I was younger. Before it was like F that guy. And he, you know, like it was like more hostile, you know. Now it's like, oh, you jerk, you got me today. Like it's more fun, you know. Yeah. But back then it was like, oh, I'm gonna take this guy out, and if I just need to win this, you know, pro card to get whatever, it was like a whole thing. But back then I was like, you know, if you're gonna try to have your team be better than mine, like good, you can try to work as hard as me for, you know, a period of time. But to you, it's work, and to me, it's what I live for. So there's no chance that you're going to be able to outwork me over the long period of time. Yeah. Because it's not like I have to get up and be like, oh, it's Monday morning, I got to go to work. Like I don't have that mentality. I'm like, I'm going to change some lives this week, and I'm going to have, you know, I'm going to, like, I live like the best life. Yeah. Like I can't imagine a better one, you know. And I'm like, and for me, there's just no. It's a long time, you know, a lot of travel, a long time, a lot of hours, a lot of responsibilities. I'm responsible for, you know, 9 people, 10 people's incomes. Like it's a lot when you think about it. But I don't ever think about it like that. I just like, it's so fun. Yeah. That it's not work. And I think that that's part of grit too, is just picking something that you can do long term. Because I don't think I could have the same tenacity with anything other than this. Like if I was like a car salesman or a loan person, I had to be on the phones all the time. Like that might be your jam. That might be what you're passionate about, and that's awesome. But I couldn't be this tenacious. I'd be looking at the clock like, oh, what time am I off? You know, I'm off at 5. Okay, so I got like an hour and a half. Like I'd be doing the math. How many phone calls is that? Okay, like just got to get these phone. Okay, one more phone call, 20 to go. You know, whatever. But like here, it's like, it's just easy because I like it. And I think that's the same thing with you.
I think like in a sense, and this is, hopefully this doesn't sound off, but in a way, I can't take it too seriously. I can't take what I'm doing too seriously, although it is serious, like, you know, I can't take it too seriously, because if I took every show so seriously, I would be very disappointed when I don't do as well as I hoped, you know? So there are times where I'm like, oh, I wish I could have done this a little better, whatever. But I can't focus so much and just drag myself down for all the things that I could have done better or should have done better. I kind of have to just move forward and be like, you know what? It's not that serious, okay? Hey, we got another show coming up. This is fun. At the end of the day, it's fun. You know, if I convince myself it's all work and no play, then I think I would have the mindset of like being overly serious and just being like so salty when I don't do as well, or whatever the case may be. But I always have to check myself if I ever find myself being disappointed and be like, you know what? At the end of the day, look how far you've come and you're still going, like, you know, and it's one show, move past it. You'll fix it for next time. It was a learning lesson. So I think like it's just important to have that kind of mindset, you know, and I think too, if people like lived with me for a week, they'd be surprised how not, I don't want to say not serious, but how easygoing I am with prep and in peak weeks and stuff. You know what I mean? I'm not like super like, oh my God, I missed a meal. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like I'm really casual with it. I'm really like going into a show, I'm really casual with it. I'm like, I think maybe it is because I just do it so much that it's just like another week for me. But I just, you know, not that this is what you should do, but for example, I don't even like weigh my food. You know what I mean? I'm not like that strict on myself to where I'm like going to beat myself up if I missed a meal or, you know, had a little bit extra vegetables or something. I'm not like that at all. And if you are, that's fine. But maybe that is one of the reasons why I am able to go for so long is because I'm not like super hyper obsessed with the particular macro or that I didn't, you know, a particular type of cardio, if that makes sense. Because I'm more like long-term rather than that particular one. But of course, when it is a bigger show like the Olympia, I will be like a little more strict when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I think the fact that I've kind of just maintained this whole year allows me to kind of be that way without being overly like hyper strict with things. And I don't want to be like a bad example either, because I don't want people to think they shouldn't weigh their food, obviously. But I think like I've been doing this for so long that I'm able to kind of see with my eyes and be like, this is, you know.
Your portions are usually right about. I would estimate that like a 4-ounce meal for you is like somewhere between 3.7 to 4.3. Like it's, I mean, you've been doing it for so long. You know what I mean? That's the thing. You could just look at it and be like, that's what it is. You know?
Exactly. So I'm not like timing my meals or anything like that either, except for a post-workout. But like I'm not like one of those girls that has to pull over on the side of the road to eat because the clock hits 3:00. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like that. I'm not. I'm just really easygoing.
I mean, when I was younger, I was so crazy about it. You want to hear? This is actually a funny story for everyone, I guess. But I actually had, this is really bad, but I actually had a breakup because of meal timing because I thought it was so important back then when I was bodybuilding. And it really isn't. We talk about meal timing all the time, and there's been studies on meal timing and, you know, building lean mass and losing body fat. And there hasn't been any like conclusive evidence that you eating X amount of hours is better than eating X amount of hours. It's always been, all the studies that have been done, it's been like, the first one was I know the second one was 3, 6, and 14 meals. Oh, and then it was 2, 4, and 6 meals. It was one of which order it was, but they both showed like almost no difference in fat loss with doing those types of breakdowns of meals. And you would think like the big one, the people who ate the most would lose the most or gain the most muscle or whatever, but it didn't really work out that way. It was all basically the same. So anyway, when I was at this restaurant and it was like we had like a 6:00 reservation, so I like timed my meal and I was like, okay, it's gonna be a bigger protein meal. It was like a hibachi steakhouse, and then they were like super backed up, so it was like an hour delay. So it was like 30 minutes we're waiting, 40 minutes we're waiting, and then it was hibachi, so it's gonna take a while, you know. And I was like, I gotta eat something. I'm like going catabolic. I was like 20, like 21, 22. It's like, no, I need something. It's like, and I was like, can I get some like edamame beans or something from you guys? Like, they're like, well, we have to wait till you sit. And I was like, I gotta go. Like, we gotta go somewhere else. Like, I gotta go. Let's just go to like Carl's Jr. and get like a chicken. Like, I'll get like a chicken sandwich there and just get the chicken out of it or something. And I was like freaking out because I was so obsessed with it at that point. And it was like, I don't know, it was a big thing. It was like either her birthday or it was like, I don't know, 6 months or something like that with this girl. And she was just like, you're crazy about this stuff. Like, you couldn't wait like an hour, like maybe 45 minutes to get your food, and like you left and went to Carl's Jr. to get chicken. She's like, that's not normal. Like, I can't, you're way too like extreme for like dating. Like, you do. I was like, but back then I was like, you know, so crazy about it. I was like, okay, then see if you don't support it. It was like pretty serious girlfriend too. I was like,
Yeah.
but then after a while, you get older, and you're like, man, that was so stupid. Like, you learn more, you realize it's not that important. So,
Right.
the moral of that story is, don't date people who don't support you. No, just kidding. The moral of that story is, don't be so crazy about it. Like, you're gonna be fine. Like,
Yeah.
if it's an hour, if it's an hour and a half delayed, like, you're gonna be fine. Don't worry.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you know how competitors get during peak week, though. You
Yeah.
know, I feel like I'm the opposite of that. I just kind of coast in. You know, we're just coasting in. So that's how I do it. And like I said, I'm very grateful to be able to compete, and you guys should too. And just think of it as like, hey, this is an awesome opportunity. Don't complain. Don't look at it as like a miserable process, and just think, hey, you know what? It's part of the journey. Some of it sucks, some of it's fun. But it wouldn't be as much fun if it didn't suck so much, right?
It's true. Nothing worth doing ever came easy.
Exactly.
I think it comes down to you, and this is what I find with like competitors too, is how I talked about my job turning into work. It's a very slippery slope. Like, I could make twice as much easily if I just took on everyone and like really put myself out there for it, and just, I could easily do that. But I'd be working a whole lot, and so then it would turn into work. Right now I do it, it's like, I do it, at a high level, and I do it pretty extreme, but I'm kind of like now a lot slower than I used to be, and I've kind of really taken a step back, and I'm still working with people, of course, but I'm kind of slowing down and making sure everything's running smooth here. And it's like, I can have my 5-hour days sometimes, and it's like, I can go to the gym and go to the shooting range and have my fun and do my thing. And it's like, but it's not work because I don't turn it into work. And with bodybuilding, you can easily take your life's favorite passion. You could be this girl at the gym, and it happens all the time. You could be the girl at the gym who loves working out. It's your clarity. It's your mental health thing that you do after work. You have friends at the gym, the community, and then you start getting a little bit in shape. And then you go in and you're like, I'm going to do a competition. And then you do a competition. Maybe you get the wrong coach, and they have you doing 2 hours of cardio and eating 800 calories a day, and you're all of a sudden you start hating doing what you originally loved to do. So you have to look at, and then it turns into work, and then when the show's end, you don't even want to go to the gym anymore. That happens. So you have to look at doing this like as your passion. You have to look at doing this in a way where that doesn't happen, where it doesn't turn into work. Now, it'll always be work when you're getting ready for a show, but it could be, there's realistic work, and then there's torturous, unnecessary, excessive work, which burns people out and they don't last very long time. So I think that the reason that me and you have been successful long term, and I will say you're the only person I think that has ever outworked me in terms of longevity. Like, I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm tired. I need a little bit of a break.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need something. I need to go on a little bit of a break, take a step back or something like that. I got to that point. You've never been there.
I mean, I did in 2017, a whole year, but
that's true.
But also, it's a different scenario.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, I'm responsible for just myself, and I love it that way. But for you, like you mentioned, there's a lot of people that kind of depend on you.
Yeah.
So I feel it's different, and I can see from your standpoint having the responsibility of bearing weight on your shoulders of other people.
Yeah.
Me, it's just me. That's why I don't have kids, and that's why I don't have pets. I just have a pet boyfriend. That's it.
He's a good
But a good
boyfriend.
thing I can leave him home, and he takes care of himself. So that's as close as I will get to a pet, because I don't want the responsibility.
funny.
I want to be a free
You're
bird.
gonna get so many comments on that. Funny. I love Hugo. I haven't seen him in so long. I got to go see him.
Yes.
It's been a while since I moved here, so I don't go to your house anymore.
Yeah, well, he is house trained. So.
You're so dumb. That's great. You got to show him this clip. He'll crack up. So grit is doing something that you need, long term, and sticking to it and staying on path. And honestly, guys, like, the only way you're going to get to that pro bikini stage and get to that high level pro bikini stage, you don't see anyone really get to that high level bikini stage and perform and start climbing the ranks in like the top 10 until they've been in this game for like, the lowest I see now is like 3 years. That's like a rocket ship. That's super fast. Usually it's like 5-6 years, in the bikini game to like really start cracking into like, getting your pro card, getting an Olympia win, or getting a Olympia qualification by winning, and then getting the Olympia. Then you get to the Olympia, and then you're in the sea of 16 for the first 2 years, and then you finally crack the top 15, and then you crack the top 10, and then you crack the top 5. It's like, it's a process. It doesn't happen that fast for many people. Like, we're usually, it's like, 5 to 8 years on some of these girls to like get to the Olympia and start really climbing the ranks. It's not fast for most. So that's the thing, is you got to think long term.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just throughout the whole process, be mentally strong, because you got to realize these girls are, maybe their expectations are a little high coming into Olympia, and then they get like tied for 16th or whatever, So you got to be so mentally strong in bikini, because unlike, we've mentioned this before, unlike bodybuilding and unlike other divisions, it's the most subjective out of all the divisions. So it can go either which way, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean there's a right or wrong physique for, the placement, but rather, what do they prefer? Do they want more muscular? Do they want a softer, curvier girl? Do you want taller, leaner, lankier? So there's many different body types in bikini that can thrive, but at the end of the day, it's kind of out of your hands to a certain extent. So you got to be really mentally strong to be able to cope with that if it doesn't go the way that you want. And that's why, I have to go into shows without any expectations, and I'm dead serious about that. Like, the only expectation is to be better than I was before, or to do my best with the scenario given, right? But not necessarily I don't like to have a number expectation as far as placement, because that's just going to play with my mind. And it's going to get me disappointed if I don't hit that number, and it's just going to kind of discourage me. So, especially in bikini, you got to be super mentally strong to be able to deal with that and to be able to make progress, getting a feedback from a judge that if you agree with it or not, but you still need to get the feedback and adhere to it. Otherwise, you're not going to be as successful as you'd want.
Yeah, in bikini, at the Olympia this year, there's probably going to be close to 45 girls or something like that. And I would say I'd be able to make the argument for 25 of them winning the Olympia, maybe 20 of them. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't go that far. Maybe 10.
You think 10?
Probably 10.
A lot of them are so good. These are all girls who won shows, and you could be like, oh, that girl could be exchanged for her.
I feel like the placements can definitely rotate within that top 10, and no one would question it.
Yeah, for sure. It's just so subjective, and that's why you just really have to really go into it with a grain of salt, like knowing that, if it's not this time, it's next time. A lot of these girls going to nationals are kind of going through that right now. You might get it your first time. Like you could look at like Anya, very first national show, got her pro card. I don't think she ever got second place at a local show either. So it was like, that was a great experience for her.
Yeah.
And then she got to her first pro show and last call out. Went through, never had that feeling before, and then took a year off. Then the next year, first call outs in almost all her shows, and he was tied second. Yeah. So like, that's some grit. That's some good grit right there. Where a lot of times people get their pro card, they've gone through the experience that Anya has, where all she does is win. All she does is win, and then gets a last call out at the pro level and is like, oh, screw this pro level stuff.
Oh, it's the whole what is it? The comparison of big fish in a small pond versus a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not like that.
Yeah, and that's basically where she went. She was a big fish in a small pond and was killing it, and then all of a sudden was, a small fish in a big pond. And then what did she do? She's like, okay, I need to get better. It took a year, got better, became a bigger fish in still a big pond. But not the biggest yet, but she's working on it, right? So it's like, that's a good example of what it takes, because a lot of girls would just quit. I mean, I've had so many girls make their pro debut and do 1 or 2 shows, and then they're done. Because they can't. I'm like, they
can't handle the.
I'm like, everyone looks good. I'm like, it's a high level. Like, they've never seen you before. You made mistakes. Like, you're nervous. You're this, whatever. Like, it's they're just done. It's so common.
It's sad, and that I think that happens many things in life too. Something that maybe somebody has interest in or a hobby, and they're passionate about it, but they don't do as well as they first expected, then they just give up, and I hate that. I think it's, it usually does take a few tries to get it going, and it's something that should be noted, I think, with anything. There's usually like a learning curve and everything like that, so never give up on your first one. But, if your heart's not into it, then that's one thing, but if your heart is into it and the ego's in the way, that's another thing.
Yes, they say ego is not your amigo.
Yeah,
Ashley likes that one.
I like that one a lot. But it goes without saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right?
Yeah.
You can have all the natural gifts in the world, but if you don't have grit, and you are faced with an obstacle, you're likely just to give up. Whereas the person that maybe doesn't have as much talent as you naturally is going to then catch up with you and pass you. And I mean, especially in a sport like this, you can't depend solely on genetics. Obviously, genetics are a big factor and they help, but you can't rely solely on genetics, right? You have to put in the work regardless.
I like that. Yeah. And I do think now there are some people out there that are going to have some genetic limitations, but luckily in bikini there's a lot of flexibility in that because a lot of different body types can do well in bikini. So that's really cool. I do like that. And you could, I think for the most part, and I've said this before, I think for the most part, even if your genetics aren't the best, you could eventually get that pro card in bikini. Might not do well as a pro in bikini because that's when it starts getting harder and harder. But I think most people can. It's as long as you're willing to put in the work. It might take you 5 years, 6 years, 7 years versus someone who has better genetics who could be on the Olympia stage in 5 years, 7 years. But you'll be able to get that pro card at that time. So don't give up on your dreams just because you've gotten waxed at nationals a couple of times, because everyone gets, for the most part, everyone gets waxed there a couple of times.
So I think it's important to kind of describe too, like maybe what more goes into this grit term, right? So you need to realize that gritty people will persevere when failing, and they recognize that failure is not a permanent condition, and it's just maybe another opportunity to learn and to grow, right? I always say, like, you either win or you learn, right? So it's not a complete loss as long as you learn from it and you correct your mistake, right? Because I feel like if you always win and it's always given to you and it's always easy, you might learn a little bit, but are you going to learn as much as if you just failed? And I will give my own personal example. My first show this year, I was off to a very rocky start, right? The first show of the year, that was a bad way to start the year. And I messed up big time with my presentation. And that was like my feedback. Like, my physique was on point. My presentation was horrible. I tried to basically change my entire routine. And I guess I wasn't as comfortable with it as I thought. I didn't practice it as much as I needed to, because when I got right on stage, like, it's like I forgot everything I learned and I like blanked. And you can see in my routine, it was horrendous. Horrendous, right? So what did that teach me? It teach me, you need to practice this routine more. It also taught me, don't change too much all of a sudden before a show. Don't try to switch things up completely. But if I were to win that show with that routine, I would have probably continued to do that, and I would have not practiced as much my routine, and it might have gotten me through a few shows, but at the big show, it would have definitely, at the Olympia, let's say, it would have definitely placed me way below. So having failed and realizing that I made a mistake inspired me to make change and to practice and to overcome and to learn everything I possibly could from that singular mistake I made. So I guess it was a blessing in disguise, but you got to look at it like that. Sometimes if you don't do as well as you hoped, just think of it like as a learning lesson and something you can improve on for next time.
I agree. I agree. I've learned my most in life from the failures.
Yeah.
There's actually like clubs of like entrepreneurs and stuff like that require you to have lost your business or gone out of business at a prior business prior to getting there, because they say that it's a lot better mind after they failed than guys who've just succeeded.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard. It is harder. It's harder to learn when you're beating everyone all the time.
Yeah.
It is. It's like, what do you need? He's like, well, I don't need to correct anything. I'm winning. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's not the attitude like Ashley would ever have. But it's like, it is kind of like a natural thing. You're like, well, I don't need to improve much if I'm winning. So that's kind of the thing. So, but yeah, no, I've learned that. That's how I ended up still doing this for so long. It's failing at other things.
Yeah.
I failed my way into this at this level, really. Because when I was younger, when I was younger, there wasn't anything online, I was training since 2000. There wasn't online training. So I did, house flips and stuff, and I got ripped off with my house flip, and I lost like 90 grand. It was like my life savings at like 21. And so I went back to the gym, So like I've had other things that I've tried because you couldn't really, as a trainer back then, you couldn't really do much. You go and train a few sessions and whatever you got paid per session. It wasn't any online market,
Yeah.
So I was like always, okay, I want to make more. So I tried to do different things. And then I would leave for a little while, end up back at the gym, leave for a tiny bit, back at the gym. And I was like, okay, I've tried a couple things now and it doesn't just fail. Like it's catastrophe, right? It's like you can't, it's like, oh, I could just keep going. It's like, no, there's nothing to go with. You have like $500 in your account. You got to move out and like live with roommates. It's like there's nothing, like you can't flip houses at $500. Sorry, there's not a way. So like, you end up back at the gym and I'm like, okay, God's telling me I need to be here because this is always like consistent for me. I do well at it. I'm always really good at it. And so it was like learning those lessons for me was, okay, this is the only thing you're passionate about, the only thing apparently you're good at. You should probably just stick with that.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, for me now, it's like I went through my phase of trying to work hard and do what I needed to do financially when I was younger. And now it's like, okay, now I'm in my later stages. Now it's just make sure it stays fun, make sure it stays fun. And I think that's important to look at too, is like, make sure this stays fun for everyone. It's supposed to have its grinding times. Your last 4 weeks of any show is going to be hard, but make sure it stays fun for you,
Yeah, absolutely. Got to enjoy the entire process for sure. I think it'd be kind of helpful for people to, recognize if they do have grit or maybe if they should have more of it. Like there's a few like true or false questions that can apply to people. They're actually, and the way the test is set up, and you can take this online, it's if you look up angeladuckworth.com/grit-scale, you can take the test and see if you are gritty. But cool. She has a scale that kind of, has very much like me, mostly like me, somewhat like me, not much like me, not like me at all, right? But this can also be a true or false, right? If you want to simplify it. And like the first question I would like for you to ask yourself is, do new ideas and projects sometimes distract you from the previous ones? So are you easily distracted is basically the question, Is that a true or false? Or are you super focused? Do setbacks discourage you? Do you give up easily? True or false? Do you set a goal but later choose to pursue a different one? So I guess like being wishy-washy, kind of like not or too distracted by other goals and stuff. Like you can't commit to one. You just all over the place. Are you a hard worker? There we go. Are you a hard worker? That phrase again.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's an interesting one because you have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, true or false.
And I do think that I'm not looking at my phone, I'm looking at these questions that she has. I was thinking it's so weird when someone's like on their phone on the podcast. But I think, and I'm sorry to cut you off on that one.
No,
it's just that like when people are in the gym or when people are on an online program and they're prepping for a show and they think they're a hard worker, and they're not getting the results that they should get, and then you see them physically work out, you're like, oh, that's the problem. You don't work out hard. You think you work out hard, but you don't work out hard,
right? Like
at all. Like not even close. Like I'm like, do you even break a sweat? Like it's a huge factor in you getting results. I can't say that enough. You getting good results is such a huge factor of how hard you work in the gym. Not just your diet. That's something your coach is not going to be there for most of the time, if at all. And you got to be honest with yourself on that. And I think that's a really good question for our sport because everyone says they're a hard worker. I'm in the gym 2 hours a day. I'm like, well, if you're in the gym 2 hours a day, you're probably not working hard enough because if you work out as intensely as whatever this guy is over here, he wouldn't be able to work out for 2 hours a day. They're like, it's like a badge of honor. The more hours they put into it, I work out 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like, well, then you're not working hard enough.
Exactly.
Like, the guys that are working out 45 minutes are the guys that I'm impressed with. The Mike Mensers who was in the gym for 30 minutes, the Dorian Yates who was in the gym for 45 minutes. Crushing their body workouts. Like working out with Dorian Yates when he was an Olympia champion. Forget about it. Even when I was in the zone, I would be afraid of working out with that guy. And I was like, I worked out hard. I wouldn't even try to work out with that guy. He'd scare me, He's actually like the worst. He does this thing where he like tells clients, like, all right, 2 more, and then they do the 2 more. He's like, all right, 2 more, all right, 2 more, and he keeps 2 moreing them, 3 moreing them, and they never know when it's ended. He's like, I don't want them to really like know when it's done
Yeah.
because there still might be more in them. And like he did it to a guy. I remember there's this video of him. If you guys want to see some like, if you think you're a hard worker, please go see Dorian Yates' Blood and Guts on YouTube. I think it's just on YouTube now. Dorian Yates' Blood and Guts. If you can buy it, buy it. Send him some money. He deserves it for the stuff he's done. And you'll see, okay, that's what hard work is. It's so crazy. There's a guy, he's like, I think it's in that video. It's one of the videos. He's doing legs, and he's like, okay, 2 more, 2 more. And the guy's dying, right? Like dying. And then he like slaps him. He's like, it's so good. Like he's like about to have about to cry because he's like so frustrated with like his legs are on fire. He should have stopped 5 reps ago. And Dorian Yates is saying, do 2 more again. He doesn't know when it's gonna stop. He's like, it's just the best moment. And he like perseveres though. He doesn't give in to the pain. He doesn't give in to anything. And he sees, oh wow, I actually did like 9 more than I thought I should have stopped at, right?
Right.
So the hard work thing, sorry to like go into that so much, but man, is it important. And man, do so many people not work hard enough. And that's why what happens is these are the people that are ending up doing more cardio and less calories because they're not working hard enough to create the stimulus that they need and burning those extra calories in the gym and getting the muscle that they need long term. So watch that video. Even if you're a bikini competitor, watch that video and like recognize your own intensity and your own hard work and be like, okay, maybe I'm not pushing as hard as I think I am, you know?
I think a good indicator or something you can ask yourself if you worked hard or not at the gym is, could I have done more? And if the answer is yes, you didn't work hard enough, right? So you should just feel like satisfied, like I gave it my all in this session today, and that's some hard work, you know?
Yeah.
Another thing to ask yourself is, do you have difficulty maintaining focus on projects that take more than a few months to complete? So are you driven by a long-term goal, or are you only satisfied with the short ones, right? They're asking in this question, you know, the length, the longevity, are you able to maintain your motivation to achieve a certain goal, right? Because if you only focus on, or if you're only able to achieve those short-term goals and anything beyond a few months is impossible for you, then maybe you're not gritty, you know? You gotta realize that every day you're not going to necessarily be so close to your goal to where it's like you can see it, but you know, that's something I always think about too, is like, you know, the hard work I do today is going to benefit me a year from now, you know? Just think about the long term. And then another question you should ask yourself is, do you finish whatever you begin? You know, or are you a quitter? Or do you say you're gonna do something, you do it? I guess it's the people who talk and the people who walk, right? I can't stand the people that talk a big game. They're gonna do this, this, and this, and then they just give up, right? No, I think I'm pretty good at this. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I don't care how I'm gonna do it. I want to make it happen. I want to do it. You know, that's me. And then another question to ask is, do your interests change from year to year? Another question, are you diligent? Do you give up? Or do you never give up, I should say. And then, are you obsessed with a certain idea or project for a short period of time, but lose interest later? And that's kind of alluding to the other question too. It's quite similar. The long-term versus short-term interests and goals. And then lastly, oh, sorry.
Yeah, so just to go into that one a little bit, I think that's the consensus of today's talk is it's not going to happen fast.
Right.
Bodybuilding takes a long time.
Yep.
Don't think you're going to be top-level bikini competitor if you're only taking it seriously for 16 weeks. Make sure you're working out hard and giving your best effort every day as much as you can.
And expect to fail at some point. Expect to fail. But it's how you handle that failure is what's going to make you gritty or not, right? If you're going to learn from it and use that to keep pushing through, then you're gritty, you know? Yeah. But you can't take that failure and quit.
Yeah, and I think that with you failing and getting better at overcoming those failures makes you a more gritty person. You know, you get thicker skin, you know. I think that, you know, that's probably why we both have kind of keep going, you know, and ended up there is we've just kind of learn from each one. You know, I do really like our dynamic because we have really different examples of similar things. You know, people always say that it's like, you know, about us that we have a good dynamic because of like certain things, but it's cool to see, like, it's cool to like take a step back and look at it because we both have gone through some crazy stuff, you know, like with that. And it's just nice to be able to talk about it. And these talks are fun for me too.
Yeah.
So this one's really cool
Yeah,
because I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool because this is really a lot of, I feel like if we answered this a lot, we would answer a lot of these the same way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go ahead and ask the last question
Yeah.
for our viewers, number 10.
I have overcome setbacks to conquer an important challenge. So have you overcome? Yeah. So,
Or if we're applying it to the audience, have you, overcome setbacks to conquer. So basically what I was just saying, are you going to learn from your failure and overcome it? Or are you going to quit after you fail? You know?
yeah.
So you shouldn't quit. Keep going.
Yeah. And
We all fail.
Yeah, and you're
we
good
all
at
fail.
that. You're really good at that. And even if I'm having a downtime, Ashley will like be like, no, we could still do this. We could still do that. Like when I was talking about, oh, I got to get this prep center done or whatever. Like it was like a lot of stress. And then I'm wanting it to be more, like get more of the community things. And Ashley's like, well, we got to do this. We got to do this. And I'm like, I'll just get another one, bigger, better, more people.
Gosh.
Which is probably eventually going to happen. I'm looking, you know what's funny is like, I always need a goal. And that's something I've been looking at already. So
Of course.
I know. What's funny is people, yeah, there's actually a few I've kind of looked at. There was one I just missed a couple weeks ago, but it's in Vegas still. But yeah, I just need like goals. And it's funny is people don't get the like entrepreneur things. Like the entrepreneur things is like, I never wanted to be that. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I never cared about that. It was always just like accidental. I'm an accidental entrepreneur. And it's like, so I don't care about the money, you know, but this is like the first year where I could actually like take some of it, take more of it than normal, you know? But I was like, why would I do that? Like, just leave it with Team Elite Physique, you know, just leave it all with Team Elite Physique, leave it with everything else. You know, the houses all went up like crazy this year too. There's a lot of money in the real estate. And then I was like, why would I do that? What am I going to do with it? So I was like, you know what? I just want to give it back to the team. Probably going to get a bigger building sooner or later. I don't know. Whenever one pops up that makes sense. It might be 3 years from now, but it's going to be, I want to get even more. We're still got to finish this one off with the backyard and all that. But like I'm already, I just like, for me to stay super motivated, I need like tasks. I need like another thing. Like for you,
Never
it's like your shows.
satisfied.
Yeah. And it's funny because like I was talking to, I had a couple guys come into town yesterday and they're talking to me. They're my friends, but they also do my CPA stuff. But they were talking to me, they're like, yeah, he was like, my wife doesn't get it that, you know, when you're an entrepreneur, you just don't have any, like you don't have the money she thinks she has. And she just is like, oh, let's buy this, let's buy that. I'm like, no, it needs to be in the company because I need to use it for this. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, oh, I guess I'll make it money. And then all of a sudden I was like, no, I'm not going to pay anything to myself. I'm going to keep it in the team's funds, and then I can get a bigger building maybe in a year, maybe this year, maybe in 3 years, I don't know. But she's like, and like, so I'm like, yeah, so I got probably 2 more years of not paying myself much. So like to do that, you know, to be able to get that and make it cooler. So it's like sometimes people need those tasks. I don't know if you would need the task because you always have a task. So I don't know if you would need one, but yeah, when everything's all done, I'm like, okay, I need something, right?
That's why I always pick my next show.
That's what I was going to say. You always have a show. And so it's like, I don't know if you would actually fall into that category or not because we would never know because you always have a show to like test that, you know? So
but I agree with you. It's never, I don't think it's good to be satisfied in a way, you know? I mean, it is and it's not, right? It's good to acknowledge your own accomplishments and be like, yeah, I did that. But it's always nice to keep pushing for a new goal so that, you know, you're always improving and moving, you know, so you're not just stagnant. So it's good. It's good.
My ex was like that too. And she was a great woman. But yeah, she'd always be like, why? She's like, why do you do this so hard? Why do you push yourself so hard? And I was like, to me, it's not really that. It's just like, I just can't stop. Like, you just can't just stop because you've accomplished a couple things. Like, to me, that's just so foreign, right? Yeah. It's like, why? Like, it's not about being more now. We got everything done that we needed to get done. It's just, why would I stop? I just don't know how to stop. Like, it's just painful.
Yeah.
It's painful. You know what I mean? Can you imagine?
It's boring, you know?
Just said, oh, well, I've won 30 shows. I broke the record. I got my Olympia titles, my Arnold wins. Yeah. and then someone said, you have to stop now? Like, you imagine, that's a painful.
You say, I'm just getting started.
Exactly, you know, or like, hey, you got your prep center, everything's done, everything's, you know, you're good, you're set, you don't have any bills with the gym, it's all paid for. Like,
you can just say, I'm just getting started.
yeah, exactly.
The motto of the year, I'm just getting started.
I'm gonna put that, we need to put that up in the gym somewhere, because that's like your thing. And you do have mottos per year though, because last year was get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, well that was 2018, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, that was my comeback.
We need to figure out the team.
I think what was last year?
22 years, 19 and 20.
Just go for it. I don't know. I think that was last year for COVID was like, just go for it.
Okay.
Just go for it. You don't know. These shows might get canceled. I don't know. Just go for it. We just gotta go for it. YOLO.
Yeah. Dude,
go with the flow. Just go for it.
Screw 2020, man. Screw 2020 so bad. It's funny is that, you know what? I had a lot of friends who like didn't work out during 2020 and like gained a bunch of weight. And I still don't know what I would have done. Because I had a gym, you know? Like, I had a gym. So I didn't have to go through what everyone else went through with not having gym access, you know? And I was like, I still wonder. I was like, would I have just have been like one of the guys who like just stopped working out and like, I don't know.
I don't see that.
Yeah, what do you do?
But I also don't see you doing home workouts either. That doesn't seem like you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the weird thing. Well, we had a girl in town.
Or doing calisthenics.
Yeah, right? Just like a plyo master. There is a, just when we turned into a yogi, there was this girl who came from the UK and she was here last week and I was like, yeah, we just need to really build your glutes and your legs. Your shoulders and arms are good. You don't need to do anymore. She's like, you know what I think it is? She's like, I worked out at home gym workouts. And I didn't have like any good equipment or enough weight to really do legs good, but I had no problem doing shoulders and arms like the whole time. I'm like, yeah, because your shoulders and arms are like pro level now. She's like, well, I haven't had a gym for my lower body for like a year and a half. And I was like, that makes sense, actually. It makes a lot of logic. Yeah. Even though she's done pretty good, she has made progress, but it's not the same as like her upper body. I'm like, yeah, you don't have a leg press, a hack squat. You got, she only had like 35-pound weights for each side for squats. Like just wasn't like, So like that, I wonder how many people are going through that right now.
I don't know. Remember I had to fly all the way to Colorado just to train for a week?
Yeah.
Weeks at a time, just be like, I need to train. Let's get a week's worth of workouts in. Then I got to go home to these stupid home workouts.
Dude, you know what's funny is, I should probably say it out loud, but we had, so the first 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, I was scared of COVID and we started seeing all the stats come out and like the real stats, not the ones they scare you with. Like the real ones. So I was like, wait a minute, 99.7% survival rate. What the hell's going on here? Why are we shutting down? So then after that, they still had our gym shut down. So I gave a key to like 20 people at our gym, like 20 local, like of our athletes. And I was like, you guys got to go to the gym before the health inspectors go out to do testing. And they come out at like 8:39 to go check buildings and make sure everyone's closed down. So these guys, I didn't know how crazy it was because I wasn't getting up that early to go to these things. But these guys were having full-on workout parties every morning from 6:30 to 8:30. And then like sometimes they'd send me video of it. I was like, holy shit, guys, you guys really have a lot of people. They're having like 30, 40 people sometimes in the gym every morning. Like they just started inviting their friends and like it turned into this like whole party. Someone was there with the access to the music. It was probably Josh or someone. They're blasting music and then they'd be gone at 8:30. I'd get there like nothing happened. I didn't know it was happening. I didn't know it was that crazy, I was waking up at 8 and then I'd work out by myself at like 11. I never went to one of them. But man, after I started seeing video towards the end, because they weren't showing me because they know I would have said something, but they showed me like after everything, after it opened back up. And they showed me a couple, they did show me a few where it was like 15, I didn't care. But the like 40 people ones, like they didn't show me till way later. And I was like, well, they're not coming, so whatever. So I wish I would have went to those. But yeah, still no one got it from there. No one got like traced to it. No one maybe they kept them healthy. I don't know. But that's my like favorite COVID memory is like seeing them have their fun and like being able to give someone access to that after the initial fear was gone,
I bet you had a lot of friends out of the woodworks, once that all happened, like, oh, I'm at the gym. Better hit him up. I haven't talked to him in 4 years, but
yeah, exactly.
I just hit him up.
I had people hit me up that weren't like part of the team, and I was like, no, we don't have that access, what's funny is that we had just a couple that would like join the team that had no interest in doing nutrition or competing just so they got access.
Oh.
They're like, if I just pay this, I get access. So I'm like, yeah, but it's not really set up that way.
Desperate times, man.
And they're like, no, I want to do that. I know gyms are struggling. Let me pay it. It's, for our monthly. It was pretty funny. So some people joined just for that. It was pretty cool.
Hey.
They had parties, man. Good for them. That was
as long as they're satisfied.
I'm happy that they did that. That's actually one of the things I'm happy about, like during COVID, is that like I was able to give them somewhere to relieve their stress. And they sent me everyone sent me messages and they're like, thanks so much for like doing that for us. Like the COVID was so hard for me because I wasn't able to work, and that was my one thing that every morning I look forward to, and it's just like feels good. That's one thing I'll like die with, where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I fought the government on that. I won, and because it wasn't just sneaky, they actually ended up going to like the what's it called, the city council or whatever it is, and they like were not sure what to do with me because we had a doctor in the office. And they're like, technically he's got a doctor, so he's kind of essential, but kind of not. Like what he's doing, he shouldn't be doing. They're like, we're just going to leave it alone. And so like, luckily, one of the few cases of winning, and I was like, I did that. It's a really cool feeling, because you never know what having grit, right, where it's going to lead to. And this one was cool because it was like a community service for the people I care about, which is really fun. So anyway, that's off topic, really off topic of the grit subject, but I think it aligns because of, I was able to get these things because of the grit that I had doing this for so long.
Absolutely.
So
heck
anyway,
yeah, let's get gritty with it.
Let's get gritty with it. So
get gritty with na 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 na.
And with that great acoustics, what do we call that when there's no music to it? Acapella. With that great acapella, we will leave you. Thank you guys so much for watching.